And it is time for the last Business Matters of the week. Don, good to see you. Happy Friday.
Good to see you as well. Happy Friday. So let's not delay here on this Friday afternoon. Starting with Capital One saying that a technical issue is affecting some customers' ability to access money online. Now, according to the company, the problem is with the third-party vendor Capital One uses. And the bank is saying that the issue is impacting payment processing and deposits. On top of that, as well as its consumer, small business, and commercial banks. Meanwhile, thousands of people reported problems on Down Detector, and this is a website that monitors outages. The bank apologized to customers and said it is working with the vendor to resolve the issue. And the Biden administration announced today that it's targeting Novo Nordisk's Ozempic and Wegovy for price negotiations for 2027. Now, the blockbuster diabetes drug and weight loss treatment are among the 15 drugs under consideration, and the price negotiation process was established under President Biden's Inflation Reduction Act back in 2022. Now, the 15 new drugs are the second group of medications set to undergo the process. Last year, the U.S. government negotiated price cuts that range from 38 to 79% for 10 popular prescription drugs used by Medicare. And those cuts come into effect in 2026. The pharmaceutical industry has fought the negotiation program, saying it will stifle innovation. And one of the world's largest battery plants located in California caught fire yesterday. Authorities in Monterey County issued evacuation orders surrounding areas last night. The fire erupted at the facility at around 3 p.m. yesterday, and the Monterey County Sheriff's Office said there were concerns over hazardous materials and potential chemical releases, leading to the evacuation order. And the Sheriff's Office did not detail which materials were causing concern. More than 2,000 people, however, were told to evacuate. Vistra Energy, which owns the storage facility, said yesterday that one of its batteries caught fire, but the cause of the fire had not been determined. The lithium-ion battery facility is right next to the Moss Landing power plant, also owned by Vistra. North Monterey County Unified School District announced that all schools and offices will be closed today due to the fire. Now, the fire is not connected to the wildfires in the Los Angeles area. Apple temporarily pulling its latest artificial intelligence feature. This is following backlash, and it involves a feature that summarizes news notifications for you. However, the AI feature had repeatedly sent misleading or even false headline summaries to customers, and of course, sparking criticism from a news organization and press freedom groups on top of users. Now, Apple deployed a beta software update to developers that disabled the AI feature, which it says it plans to re-enable in a future update. That is, also as part of the update, the feature will now emphasize that the information has been produced by AI. Meanwhile, the European Union is ramping up its investigation into whether Elon Musk's X breached EU rules on content moderation. Today, the EU Commission said it had asked the platform to provide documents on recent changes to its systems by February 15th.
Today, the Commission has indeed addressed additional investigatory measures to X as part of the current proceedings, and this is very important, as part of the current proceedings against X that were opened 2 years ago, so in 2023. Now, what are we asking the platform? We're sending a request for information today relating to requesting the platform to send us internal documents relating to all their changes in algorithms that have been done recently.
Now, it's worth adding that the Commission also addressed Donald Trump's threat to impose tariffs on European Union nations in his second term. Meanwhile, the EU High Representative met with the Palestinian Prime Minister to discuss the ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. Israel's Security Cabinet has recommended approving a deal that would pause the fighting in Gaza in exchange for dozens of hostages. And the deal will now go into the full cabinet for approval before the ceasefire goes into effect. The Prime Minister's office said that if the agreement is approved, the ceasefire could start as soon as Sunday. And for the first time ever, the Super Bowl is streaming for free on streaming service Tubi. And here's how to watch and why this is happening.
The Super Bowl is going to be streaming for free for the first time ever on Fox streaming service Tubi.
A sheer stroke of genius. Not only is it an event of all events when it comes to anybody who's a sports fan, but importantly from a revenue perspective, the audience size will only increase.
Doug Zarkin is the author of Moving Your Brand Out of the Friend Zone. He says a bigger audience allows the sales team to charge more for Super Bowl ads. Advertisers also benefit from streaming.
You can determine what zip codes watched it. Did they watch the entire commercial? What was the engagement rate? Did they click from the ad to the website? So there's greater analytics for advertisers.
To watch, head to Tubi.com or download the Tubi app and simply log in or register. Commercials will include the same ones on television, and there'll be a live pregame show called Tubi Red Carpet at Super Bowl 59, which Fox says will cover the celebrity, fashion, and culture behind America's biggest sports event. Tubi is a free app which features mostly reruns and budget movies. Fox purchased it in 2020 for $440 million, and it's now the second most popular free streaming app.
A first ever Spain interception. The NFL and Spanish soccer giants announced that the Miami Dolphins are headed to Spain this season, and one of their 9 games will be played at Real Madrid Santiago Bernabeu Stadium. The NFL has been pushing into new international markets, has already established regular games to be played in London and Germany, and is expanding into Mexico and Brazil as well. This newest announcement will be the first ever regular season game played in Spain at the iconic soccer stadium. Now, a soiled situation for Procter & Gamble's Charmin toilet paper. The lawsuit is accusing the company of making misleading environmental claims known as greenwashing. So, in the proposed class action, some customers said P&G obtained most wood pulp for its toilet paper from the Canadian boreal forest through harmful logging practices. The consumers called this sourcing at odds with P&G's public commitment to protecting the environment and its Protect, Grow, Restore logo. The lawsuit says P&G deceived consumers into buying or paying too much for Charmin. P&G did not immediately respond to requests for comment. Automaker General Motors and a subsidiary OnStar have reached a settlement with the Federal Trade Commission, and this is over allegations the companies shared customers' driving behavior and location data without their consent. NTD Sean Marshall has more details.
The Federal Trade Commission is taking action against General Motors and OnStar over allegations they collected, used, and sold drivers' precise geolocation data and driving behavior information from millions of vehicles.
Why would they do this? It's because they can sell to insurance companies, independent companies for their own data collection, and of course the government would like to have this information as well. But you need to approve that it can be sold, and since they're doing it without your permission, the Federal Trade Commission got involved.
This is the FTC's first action related to connected vehicle data. General Motors and OnStar have reached a settlement with the FTC over the allegations. The companies agreed not to disclose sensitive vehicle geolocation and driver behavior data to consumer reporting agencies for 5 years, the U.S. Federal Trade Commission said on Thursday.
General Motors and OnStar have been operating their roadside assistance program for decades, but that information has to have your permission in order to share it, and data is being collected on a regular basis.
GM said in a statement that it had ended its Smart Driver program last year. It had designed the program hoping to promote safe driving by analyzing data on driving habits and giving drivers feedback. We're more committed than ever to making our policies and controls clear and accessible as we continue to evolve the driving experience for our customers, GM said. The order settling the FTC allegations prohibits GM and OnStar from misrepresenting information about how they collect, use, and share data on consumers' location and driving behavior. Additional provisions require GM and OnStar to not disclose covered driver data to consumer reporting agencies, obtain consent prior to collection, allow consumers to obtain and delete their data, and allow consumers to limit data collection from their vehicles. Sean Marshall, NTD News.
And Honda is hit with a nearly $13 million fine. The U.S. Consumer Financial Protection Bureau says Honda's U.S. financial arm reported inaccurate information that affected the credit reports of 300,000 Honda and Acura drivers. The CFPB says Honda deferred some drivers' loan payments during the pandemic and then told credit reporting agencies the drivers were delinquent when it should have been reported as current. So those credit reports can negatively impact Americans seeking a job, housing, or even a loan. Meanwhile, American Express will pay $230 million to settle a fraud investigation and deceptive marketing allegations by the Justice Department. The DOJ accused the banking giant of giving customers inaccurate tax advice for two of its wire products by touting tax breaks that didn't exist. And in a separate civil settlement, American Express was accused of deceptively marketing credit cards to small businesses. This was through an affiliated entity that initiated sales calls, that is, to small businesses. The DOJ says this included misrepresenting credit card rewards and fees as well. Now, if you have a layover in Atlanta, you're in good company because Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport was named the world's busiest airport for the second year in a row. And according to the aviation analytics firm Research, 4 of the top 10 busiest airports were in the U.S., and all of the top airports saw growth in 2024. A lawsuit is fizzling up against Pepsi. The Federal Trade Commission is suing the soda maker for allegedly engaging in illegal price discrimination. In a statement, the FTC said PepsiCo has been giving an unfair price advantage to a big box retailer, which it did not name. The agency says this includes promotional payments for the retailer, but not to large grocery chains or independent convenience stores. The FTC said this tilts the playing field against small firms and inflates prices for consumers. PepsiCo disputes the allegations, saying this is a misunderstanding on the way consumer product companies help retailers provide lower prices. And it seems many people in China are complaining of worsening living standards. Data showed Chinese industrial output far outpacing retail sales and the unemployment rate ticking higher. Falling prices have hurt corporate profits and workers' incomes as well. The official data China released was different from what most people felt. This is according to an executive at a company providing industrial automation services for the electrical vehicle sector. And a trade policy professor at Cornell University and a former China director at the International Monetary Fund also said that it seems dubious that China precisely hit its growth target for 2024. And it came at a time when the Chinese economy continues to face a slew of problems. And meanwhile, for a 25-year-old investment banker in Beijing, 2024 felt like a downturn. Her salary was trimmed for a second straight year, bringing the total pay cut to 30%. And 8 or 9 of her colleagues lost their jobs as well, as she said. Next, data compiled by LSEG shows Midsize Banks reporting higher fourth-quarter profits. Investment banking and trading have become increasingly vital for mid-sized banks. The robust deal-making environment offers lucrative fee prospects. The territory was believed to be mainly the stronghold of Wall Street heavy hitters like JP Morgan Chase and Goldman Sachs. The boost from investment banking has helped mid-sized banks cushion the blow from lower loan demand as elevated interest rates deter borrowers. Analysts predict the new Trump administration could increase executives' confidence to pursue deals due to corporate tax cuts and relaxed regulatory oversight. Goldman Sachs CEO David Solomon gets a pay raise plus a stock retention bonus while extending his tenure as company head. Here's more.
Goldman Sachs CEO David Solomon got a 26% pay raise last year, taking his compensation to $39 million. That's according to a company filing that also showed he was granted an $80 million stock retention bonus, signaling he'll lead the investment bank for another 5 years. Solomon told a Reuters Next conference last month that he will lead the firm for as long as he can.
I've got a great job, and I'll be the CEO as long as the board wants me to be the CEO. This week it seems like, things are going well. Next week things could be tough, but we're committed to a strategy. We have enormous support from our board. We have an incredible team, and I think we're making good progress, but more to do. we'll continue to stay focused on serving our clients and growing the firm.
Goldman Sachs this week reported its biggest quarterly profit in more than 3 years as its investment bankers brought in more deal fees while its traders benefited from active markets. A spokesperson for the bank said the board is, quote, determined to maintain our momentum, ensure stability, and keep in place a solid succession plan. Goldman's president and chief operating officer John Waldron was also awarded a retention bonus of $80 million in restricted stock that vests in 5 years. He is widely seen as a successor to Solomon. CEO succession is in focus across Wall Street, from Jamie Dimon at J.P. Morgan Chase to Brian Moynihan at Bank of America. Investors are focused on the long tenures of executives running the largest banks in the country.
All right, on to the markets. U.S. stocks rallied today to close out a strong week. It was boosted by optimism over the health of the economy and path for interest rates. And this comes as investors brace for a slew of policy changes potentially under the incoming Trump administration. S&P 500 and the Dow registered their biggest weekly percentage gain since early November, and the Nasdaq recorded its best since early December. So data released this week eased fears that inflation would resurge, while expectations have grown that the Federal Reserve will bump up the timing and as well as the magnitude of rate hikes this year. All right, that's all today from Business Matters. Back to you.
Don Ma, thank you as always. I'm so glad it's Friday, Don.
Same. I feel the same way.
What are you doing over the weekend?
Well, you know, it has been a long week. At least it felt that way. So I'm probably going to try to do as little as I can. Maybe, you know, watch some stuff, maybe a TV show, a movie or whatever in bed, you know, just relax and, you know, get ready for the upcoming week. It's going to be a busy week next week as well.
Hey, sounds like a plan. Yeah, it is going to be very busy next week. So we'll have to see what happens next week. I feel like I've been saying that so much, but it really is true. We don't know what's going to happen, right?
Yeah, but what about you? What are you going to do?
What am I going to do over the weekend? Well, I will be preparing for Monday.
Oh yeah, I forgot. You don't get a weekend this week.
Well, kind of, just doing some prep work. But Inauguration Day is coming and it's going to be exciting.
All right.
All right, Don, thank you. I'll see you next week.
See you next week.